Good Thursday morning, everybody.
Good
How we
morning.
doing?
Doing well.
Morning.
That's just an average start. Who's got some energy out there? Who's got something?
I do.
All right, let's go.
So Jeffrey and I are super excited because one of the first open homes that we did way back at the beginning of the year, a couple came through from New York. Their son lived in this particular community, and they're thinking that they're going to want to purchase a home down here. Well, don't you know, they gave us a call, and we've been out the last 2 days showing them homes. They're looking between 7 and 850. So yeah, open homes is just a wonderful way to meet people. And it elevates you straight from trying to, prospect and win them and everything. You have your face to face. They sense that they like you, and they reach out to you because they felt like you would be a comfortable fit for them. So it's a really great opportunity to sort of cut through a lot of layers of work to get right to seeing if somebody will know, like, and trust you, and then let's go look at homes and let's write some offers.
Love it. Who else has got some positivity going on? What's good? Nobody else.
This is my first call, my first Thursday call with you guys. So I'm just sitting in here and enjoying the conversation.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you feel comfortable to just chime in and say hi and welcome, and hopefully we're going to bring some value today and get you off on the right foot. So, anybody have an experience share that they kind of want to throw out on the table? Something going on in a deal that everybody needs to know about? Anybody struggling on something on one of their own deals? So maybe it's not an experience share, but just, hey, I need help with something. I had a couple of things come across my desk of just crazy backouts. We had a buyer backing out because one of the parties, I guess this is a father co-signing for the son, being pulled out of the family because of unsound mind and admitted for testing. And so the son cannot qualify because there's no longer a co-signer. Right. So, I think this one was a few days prior to closing. And so you just never know. Never count your chickens before they hatch here, I guess, is the moral. You got to get these things to the finish line. You just never know what's going to happen. We had a seller backing out last minute because he was having mental issues, and the buyer is now suing. So, these are all within the last couple of days of just, these are deals that are just days before closing, and you got to hang in there. You've got to see what other alternatives, with this son situation. Is there somebody else that can co-sign for this deal versus just kind of giving up on it? So anybody have any weird stuff like that going on deals of just, whether it was preventable or not, of just to share, hey, here's how my deal fell apart, or here's how it came back together?
I just read about one for in South Florida where Jeff Bezos was buying a property. I believe he paid $79 million for it, and it was the neighboring property of one that he already owns. And the owner of the property actually listed at $85 million, and he asked the agent, if it was Jeff Bezos, because he had a thought that it was him, and then the agent told him it wasn't him, and then now the seller is suing the agent for $6 million for the loss on the opportunity. I don't know if you saw that.
That's it. No, I haven't seen this one, and interesting. I've never seen anything obviously at that magnitude where they're suing for a difference like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. Anybody else have any other insight on that one or anything else weird going on? Pat.
I got two interesting ones. Do you want me to go? You guys want to talk about how clients should listen to you and not do what they want to do, or do you want to talk about how to keep a deal together once you?
I think we got to do both.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so the first one is I got this client the other day through Opcity, and the guy wanted, he signed the exclusive, went to a multifamily in Warren. Wants to make an offer on it. It's been on 6 days. I gave him a CMA. Looks like his property is asking was 311. Looked like the property was worth between 3 to 320. He says, I want to make an offer. I want to go 250. And I said, dude, it's been on 6 days. You're gonna offend the sellers here. They're not gonna want to negotiate with you. Like, it's way too low. Like, it's not. It hasn't been on for a long time. Like, I don't advise doing this. And he was like, well, I do this for a living, and this is what I do, and this and that. And I'm like, all right, man, I'll make the offer. He said, so then he calls me. He's like, all right, let's go 265. So I write the offer up, and then he says, it's been 24 hours. He hasn't signed the offer. So I call him. I'm like, hey, what's going on here? He's like, oh, let me get my business partner in on this as well. I'm like, okay. So his business partner comes in. I go, who's on the pre-approval? Like, do I need to put the business partner on the offer? He's like, no, he's just my business partner. So his business partner gets on the phone and says, hey, I'm a wholesaler. I found the property for him. You owe me 1% of your 2% commission on this deal. I said, dude, I don't know who you are. I'm not paying you $1. Get out of here. And then the guy who I'm dealing with, I said, do you want me to write the offer, or do you want me to not? Because I'm not going to do this back and forth weirdness. And he was like, no, we'll do the offer. He's like, that's actually my cousin, and so I'll pay him off on the side. And I'm like, okay, whatever you want to do. So I write the offer, 265. We send it in. The deadline hits. I call the agent. Agent says, yeah, they're not going to negotiate with you. They feel disrespected on the low ball and this and that. So I tell him that. He says, oh, well, let's go in at asking then. So I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, okay. So I write it up at asking, send it in, set the deadline for Sunday. Sunday comes, I message her. She goes, call me. I call her. She goes, hey, listen, they were disrespected on the first offer. We don't have any other offers. We counter at 325. I said, you put it on the market for 311. Now you're countering me at 325? You're the seller. And she's like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, let me find out. So I call the guy. Can't get a hold of him. Sunday night, call him twice, doesn't answer. Text him, doesn't answer. Monday, I call him 3 or 4 times. Text him 3 or 4 times, doesn't answer. Tuesday now, it's 11 a.m. I get a call on my phone from Montreal, Canada. I'm like, that's a weird number. Answer the phone. It's him. He says, hey, where you been? I said, where have I been? Where have you been? And you don't answer your phone anymore? I said, I've been trying to get a hold of you for 2 days. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm in Canada. That phone doesn't work when I'm in Canada, so I'll be back on Wednesday. I go, okay, well, you have a counter on the table for 325. So that's what they're saying. If you want that house in Warren, the multifamily, 325 is what they're offering at. He goes, all right, write it up and send me it. Let's do it. So now I got him under contract at 325. So the importance of listening to me to begin with, he probably would have got it at 300, maybe asking, but now he's paying 14 grand over what he could have got it at because he didn't listen to me from the start and thinks he knows what he's doing. So that was very interesting to me. I've never seen a seller counter above asking.
It's called not listening to your realtor tax.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we should probably just chat about a little bit is how to handle when you're on the listing side when you get these low ball offers, because sometimes the sellers do react like this, and we've got to have a conversation that doesn't make them fly off the handle, especially when they've got no other offers. So I think, just acknowledging their feelings. Hey, I completely understand why this offer is, disappointing. Seems really, really low. And, completely natural to feel the way that you're feeling, So if you just try and go for, oh, no big deal, let's just counter. Like, I think just in general, acknowledging the feeling, and then trying to reframe as, hey, this is just an opportunity. It's just a starting point, and then sharing a story like Pat's, and hopefully whether you have one or you don't, I've had buyers before on my listings start even lower than this, and we end up getting them to come up to ask or go over ask. because another offer comes in or whatever the case might be. But just trying to set the table that, hey, this is how some buyers operate, right? Don't be offended. Let's just look at this thing as an opportunity. So just making sure that if you were on the listing side of this one, that you don't let a seller get so emotionally tied up that screw this buyer, I'm not selling it to them, they lowballed me, this is ridiculous, and then coming back to what were their needs? What are the current market conditions, right? Good news is we have an offer. So highlight the positives. We've got an interested buyer. Let's just see if they're willing to play ball. And if, hey, Mr. Seller, if you want me to just come back and ask, I'm happy to do that. If you want to give a little bit, I know we had discussed ending up closer to 300. We were on at 311 to leave a little bit of wiggle room. You want me to come back at 308, but just trying to, play ball, keep them in the game, keep their head settled down. Anybody else just want to share how they're handling sellers with a low ball offer? Any other strategies out there? You definitely need to have a strategy. You need to have an approach for when this happens so that we can not have a seller come back and say, that's it, we're not selling to this guy, or we're not even countering.
Yeah, Steve, I do want to say that, like, I have kind of like a pitch when this happened. Like, so most of the deals I get under we're going under, they've been on a while. So I have a whole pitch for it. Like, I did my whole pitch with her. I don't think she relayed it properly to the seller. So, it's always like, oh, hey, listen, I know we're low. We're not trying to offend. Like, it's just a starting place. Like you're saying, like, feel free to counter. We can go back and forth. He's just looking to get a little bit underneath 311. Doesn't feel it's quite worth that much. That kind of thing. Did not work in this situation. The list agent wouldn't even respond. Like when I sent the offer over, sent a text, sent an email, like, hey, just wanted to make sure you knew I have it. Did I sent the offer over? Did you get it? No response whatsoever. So it was definitely a little bit different than usual. Usually they'll at least say, oh, I got the offer. I'll present it. We'll see where we can go. Didn't get any of that.
Yep. KB, did you have something?
Mine's completely different. It's just a little bit of legal information. So I just want to make sure that I'm not interrupting anybody's thoughts.
Yeah, I have some more thoughts on the buy side when you're on Pat's side. So sometimes on the buy side, you're going to come in low, but it's because the market value you believe is actually low, right? So there's times where somebody's going to list at whatever 300,000, and the things, the comps are at 250. And so the strategy that I like in that situation is not that we're coming in low. It's, hey, I took a look at the comps. I sat down with my buyer. We think the property's worth around 250. I'm going to be writing you an offer for 250. I'm going to send you the comps. If there's something that I've missed, if you've got a comp that I missed, I'm happy to take a look at it. This is what we think it's worth. So not sure how you guys ended up at the 311, whatever, like I said, take a look at these. And let me know what your sellers think. And if there's a comp I missed, I'm happy to look at it. My guy's reasonable. That can work because a lot of times it's just what the seller wanted, or that's what the seller owes, or that's what the seller needs to make. And there were no comps used to get the number, right? So just trying to say, hey, look, I'm happy to come higher. My guy would pay more if we missed something. He really likes the property. That, I'm not saying again that this is going to work every time. It's a pretty good approach when you're on the buy side. If it's not really a low ball, it's really, at least in the buyer's eyes, market value for the property. Anybody have any other thoughts around that when you're in the buy side on that position? Okay. All right, KB, let's go with your legal side.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the new inspection bill for Massachusetts, because I spent a lot of time yesterday calling some different offices as well as MAR just to figure out how we navigate this. And so anyone in Massachusetts, sorry, I'm a little sick. Anyone in Massachusetts that has heard that there will be a change to our inspection contingency and the inspection rules and guidelines for our state, that is true. There was a new bill that was signed last month. It's the Affordable Home Act, and basically what it says is that you can't use inspection contingencies anymore in Massachusetts. The buyer has the right to hold an inspection 10 days from their signed contract. And there's not a whole lot of clarity in regards to what contract, whether purchase and sale or just the offer. So this is something that it's signed. It's not actually active right now. It doesn't actually, they're still working out the laws and the rules on how everything is going to work. And we should probably see something by December 15th, if not later or earlier into 2025. But I think one of the biggest things that you guys need to be aware of is we did have a situation where an attorney was pushing back on a date that was in a purchase and sale. And that's why it prompted me to just start kind of calling around. Because the attorneys are actually recognizing this act already, even though it's not really active and our forms don't support it. So if you guys have that situation where you have an attorney that's telling you you can't use a date or this is outside of the 10 days that the buyer gets, we're going to have to edit our forms a little bit. MAR doesn't have any intention of changing the form as of right now, because there's just too many rules and guidelines that they're still trying to work out. So if you guys come across that and you have questions, make sure that you're reaching out and letting me know so that I can kind of help walk you through how these things need to be filled out. Lauren, did you have something else?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, because I actually read this bill because somebody had posted about it in our chat room the other day. So I had pulled it up and read the bill. And part of the bill is saying that we will have to have contracts that state some more information. So once it's actually law or in practice, there will have to be some sort of contract change that comes along with it, because it was part of like the actual bill itself. And then a second piece in this bill that I found interesting was if your client intends to not do inspections, you cannot inform the seller of that until after the offer is accepted. So it can't be any part of beginning. They can say after their offer is accepted that we've decided we're not actually going to do them, but it can't be part of the decision making in whether or not an offer is accepted at the beginning. So those were kind of the two biggest things that I found interesting while reading it.
So just, and either one of you guys can respond, that in summary, you can't waive inspections until post an offer being accepted, and you can't create an inspection contingency. It'll just be mandated 10 days. Everybody gets 10 days. It is what it is.
And I did post it in chat, so if you guys want to open that up and read the bill yourself. Like I said, I mean, some people might not get pushback yet, but others have, and Jen is one of them. So what do you got, Jen?
Jen, you're muted if you're trying to talk.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say, if you're not, if just in response to what Lauren said, if that's not part of the negotiation, you just wouldn't waive it, because you're then taking away that period for them to back up for a reason. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really make sense to waive it at that point. They just get the 10 days. One of the things I wanted to mention is in the purchase and sale, it says so many days from the signed purchase and sale. So once the seller signs the purchase and sale, but in the bill, it says they get 10 days from the signed offer. So when the seller signs the offer, then you count the 10 days and you can write that date in there, but it actually is asking for so many days. That's what I think is confusing, is if they just put 10 days in there, then you're giving them more than that, because it's 10 days from that fully executed purchase and sale. And then of course they have until the next day to give you any repairs or anything like that. It says no, they have till the next day to do that.
No, so actually the next day thing is only if you're terminating. If you're doing any repair requests in Massachusetts, have to be day of your contingency. If you plan on terminating, you have until 5 o'clock the next day.
And again, none of this is actually active. This is just what is it's been signed in, but they have not picked, hey, these rules start as of this day, similar to the NAR settlement where, hey, these are going to be the new rules. We're warning you about the new rules. You can play by the old rules until X date, but we just don't have X date yet. Correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's still
Yeah.
going through the processes, and this is something that's actually been in place since it looks like February of 2023 they started this. So it's gone through a number of changes already.
Pat,
Yeah.
your hand was up.
That's the main reason why MIR isn't jumping to change the forms again. I mean, they just went through so many forms changes, and according to MIR, they don't think that they're going to have an actual guideline set until 2025. So
Yeah, I just copy and
Pat.
pasted that link so I can read it later. But are you saying that we're not allowed to say we want to waive inspections up front, but then after they accept the offer, we can then say, okay, we're going to waive inspections?
Yes. Right.
How does
One of the parts
How does that
of
make sense?
one of the parts of it actually says no seller shall accept an offer to purchase from a prospective buyer who in advance informs the seller either directly or indirectly that they intend to waive in whole or in part inspections.
the idea, honestly, Pat, is the fact that waiving inspections not in the best interest of a consumer. So a seller choosing to go with someone who's not inspecting the house is not fair to the consumer. I don't. It is what it is, but it's not going to be like a.
But you can then, once the offer is accepted, you can then say, okay, thank you for accepting my offer. We're going to waive inspections.
Why would anybody do
That
that
would-
at that point?
Yeah, you wouldn't do that at that point. You would just not do them.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
My guess is this is in response to just so many waived inspections and so many. I know there's been a bunch of lawsuits. Buyers bought houses that they didn't know what they were buying, and I didn't know what I was signing when I signed the inspection waiver. That's my guess that this is, during those COVID years, if people were just waiving, and now they're stuck with houses that they really probably didn't understand what they were buying. So that's my guess. This is in response to that.
So I have another deal that was the other deal I was going to talk about, but basically we had an inspection contingency date of like 9/5 and it was like 9/2 and we were signing purchase and sale. We got a lot of pushback from the agent on the list agent about signing purchase and sale. And I was like, listen, I set purchase and sale date for the 7th and inspection contingencies are the 5th. And I did that on purpose because we want to make sure we're getting through inspections. And she was like, well, we really need you to sign the purchase and sale. So I was like, all right, let me talk to my client. Let me talk to the attorney, just make sure it's fine. Because at that point, we didn't know all the issues that we were going to run into. We had quotes coming in, things like that weren't going to come in until the 4th or something. So we signed purchase and sale, but the buyer attorney added in language that said, we have until 10 days after purchase and sale to figure out, what we're going to do with the inspection contingency. So my 9/5 date ended up not even playing into it. Like we got an additional 10 days until the 13th or 14th because the buy side attorney added that 10-day language in. And I think that's what you guys are talking about, correct?
Yeah, but if you read the bill says with offer. But if you talk to the attorneys, they're saying purchase and sale. So I just think there's not enough clarity.
Okay.
Around it right now. So the attorneys are giving you 10 extra days that wasn't what the clients done. So
well, that was my point because we had quotes coming in on 9/4, then we found mold issues and that ran into a whole thing with basically they couldn't get up into the vaulted ceiling area to remediate the mold. So the solution was to take the roof off and take the plywood off, then remediate and then put everything back on. So I thought the whole deal was going to fall apart at that point, but the seller agreed to do so. But we didn't know that until after we had signed the 10-day. So I said to the list agent said to me, do you want to extend? Because we're not sure if we're going to follow through with this whole taking the roof off thing. We need to get quotes and figure it out. And so do you want to extend your date from 9/5? And I said, well, we don't have to because we just signed purchase and sale and the attorneys agreed that we have 10 more days. And she was like, oh, I've never seen that before. And I'm like, yeah, me neither, but we have another 10 days now. And so it all got worked out and the whole deal actually didn't fall apart, which blew me away. But yeah, it was weird. It was a weird situation. I'd never seen that before, basically.
Yeah. I'm sure we're going to see some weird stuff while this bill gets shaken out and, forms potentially get updated. So just great share today and great experiences around how it's all playing out now. So just pay attention. If you're in Massachusetts doing a deal on those inspection clauses.
even if you're not, I have a feeling that this is going to be something that goes around every state just because it's the inspection waivers have been a problem kind of everywhere.
Allison, go ahead.
Thank you. So with this new bill being passed, I'm actually in a pretty similar situation, I would say. I have this buyer interested in this property. The property has been sitting there for around 6 to 10 years. The owner, he was working on the property, ran out of money, and then he passed away. So it's an estate sale. And I recommended him to, obviously go through inspection period because not only is it just frames, there's no really house to it, but it was the fact that the listing agent mentioned that he ran out of money. So, if he completed everything and then he ran out of money, like that's okay. But if he was running out of money and seeing that and cutting corners, that's why I kind of pushed the inspection period. But we were hoping to get an inspection before presenting an offer. And I was wondering if that's okay because I ran it by the listing agent and he said it was completely fine. He understood with the condition of the property.
Yeah, so you're just saying before we even submit an offer, can my buyer do an inspection on the property, like a full-blown inspection?
Yes.
Yeah. If the listing side wants to allow you to do that, and your buyer is willing to spend that money out of pocket and know that they could potentially lose it, I don't see any issues with it, right? As long as we get the okay from the sellers. The issue being, typically you want to structure your deal before you're going to, and know that we've got something that the sellers are willing to accept, right? If we don't know, so you spend your $600, you do your inspection, and then you guys are off by $50,000 on the price, we just kind of wasted the inspection money, right? So typically you want to see if we can just come to terms, and then we'll do our inspection. Is that
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because I just hate to see your buyer spend that money, and then you guys were off by $50,000, $100,000. You weren't even in the same ballpark with the terms of the deal. Jen.
So what I was going to say is having the inspection, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of in and out here, but it sounds like the agent's making it so that there's no inspection period. Is that right? Is that why they're trying to get them to do it in advance? Because even if they have the inspection ahead of time, they still get that 10-day window. So it's not going to make it go away.
Yeah, so we haven't even gotten to that point. He said he's received a couple offers on the property. It's an estate sale, so he's like, there's no really money going to the heirs. So, and he actually shared the actual numbers of the offer. He's like, I'm just gonna let it sit and see what numbers we're just gonna get. So that's why I'm just trying to keep the ball rolling, but I wasn't sure if, having the inspection period before an offer, in my mind, that was to protect my client, but I guess it would be the other way to protect my client.
Yeah, I would try and do it the other way. Make sure you've got agreeable terms and then get in there and do that inspection.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions around the inspection stuff, guys? All right. As always, it's your content, your experience shares, your weird things that are going on with your deals that make this call. So if you've ever got something weird going on, if there's a place on your phone, you could save it, send yourself an email and bring it to this call. It's what drives this call for sure. We try and do our best to get our leadership team to submit stuff when they see it, but you guys and your weird stuff or what you learned really makes a difference. So appreciate everybody coming equipped today and bringing some great stories and shares. And hope you guys have a great Thursday. We'll get back after it and finish the week strong tomorrow. All right. Take care.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.